All right, so it's Saturday. It's kind of been raining. I was supposed to be finishing up the transmission swap on my boss's 72 Chevelle, but of course, parts. A couple of things that weren't taken into consideration bit us in the butt, and that was kind of that. So, this is the first Saturday I get one-on-one with my boo. So, as you guys can see, I got fiberglass filler in this really bad area I showed you guys before. I don't think I made a video with me pulling dents, but I'll walk around and show you guys what I did. I put fiberglass in all the bad areas. Now, this doesn't look pretty, but this has to get shaped out, so I left it this way, but it's overall pretty smooth. This area was really wrinkled. I pulled out all the bad areas, and you can see I have my profile now, and it's like not super thick, but I leave it on thick enough so that I can shape it down. And the idea with the fiberglass filler is to do some more of the heavy filling versus the softer plastic, polyester-based body filler. This is actually fiberglass reinforced. And this was an area that had been kind of hacked up before. Somebody put relief cuts in the metal and brazed them, so I was only limited to doing what I could. And again, this is more of a we're preserving this car. We're not doing a full-on resto. This car's in really good shape. It doesn't warrant that. I put fiberglass over the patchwork, and it's really smooth. You can see, except for that little like crevasse right there. But again, I'm not too worried about leaving it nice. But if the smoother you leave your body filler, the nicer it will be to sand, the faster it will be. So I guess this is where I get to give you guys a tip here. So I'm going to take my spreader for an example, and you guys can see that I have streaks going down and then across. So I did that for a reason. This panel has a contour going like this, right? So it's got a crown, and then it's got a built-in crease that goes this way. So if you figure out the shape of your panel and you start to put your filler down, keep in mind that if you follow that shape, you're forming the filler. It's less sanding. The nicer you do it, the easier it is going to be to sand. I see a lot of people just lob it on, and they'll hit it with a cheese grater or 36 grit. And I mean, if that's what you do, that's fine. But this is what I like to do. So what I did was, I had my filler all mixed up. I just put on a couple of globs, and then you spread it. And the reason for that is if you spend too much time putting on one film, it could start drying up. So what I did was, I grabbed a big dollop, just kind of half-ass smeared it, another one, half-ass smear, another one, half-ass smear, and I had most of this area covered. So then I started to go ahead and press down, and you gotta, on your first pass of filler, you do have to press down so that it bites into the grit marks. So I went down, 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 and then after that, I gave it another one to kind of start to shape it, following that contour, the dip and everything. And then, so on this area, since I know it's got that little hip, I left the down streaks. But on the center, where it's like round, I went ahead and I pulled this, and then this. So now I am already shaped my filler, and about 50% of the work is already done. And then on the bottom, I just pulled it tight, and you can see my body line is roughly in place here. Following the other one, it's going to need some, finessing, but this is the first coat of fiberglass. This is just for the heavy fill, and then we'll put our lighter body filler over it. And here, you guys can still see a little bit of the low spot, but I pulled most of this dent out. This is actually a really tricky area to fix because this sharp corner here was actually down a hair, giving me problems. But I pulled the dents, and there's a lot of theory on pulling dents. But I'm not going to, I can get into it, but I'm for right now, for the purpose of giving you this update partway through this, I'm going to keep it really short. So we're at the beginning stages of these fenders. Obviously, all the little metal marks are little low spots that I pulled out, and those are going to need a little skim coat. But once I do that, I'm going to skim coat the entire front half of the fender, block it all down, and make it one smooth substrate. Even if I bust through a lot of the filler, I like to skim coat. I like to finish on a skim coat and block the skim coat off, and you end up with a really nice uniform area versus, you know, sometimes you see people that'll do their body filler work, they'll end up with a low spot and they'll just fill that and sand it later. Well, the problem is, let's say you got a dent this big and you put your filler out to here and you blocked it with your big block and you took care of it and you ended up with a little low spot in the middle. Now follow me here. So after you blocked it, you ended up with a low spot and you just swiped that area. Now the problem is, while you're sanding that, you're sanding this, and you're sanding that. So you're creating low spots. And the primer can only take care of so much. So in my opinion, when I run into that situation, I'll go ahead and I'll fill that area, and then I'll just lightly skim coat that whole area that I originally filled so that I don't knock it down any further than I need to, and I have a little bit of cushion on top. So there's a lot of little tricks like that. I see a lot of people doing body filler work, things that I don't agree with, but if it works for them, it works for them. It just creates a better overall job. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, you guys can get a glimpse of a lot of that stuff. I take a lot of pictures on my day-to-day just doing stuff, so I'll let you go. All right, so this is the most important part out of this whole project on the front, fenders at least in the front half. So I'm going to cover this real fast. I don't want to talk too much. So as you can see, we got this flattened out, really nice, blocked out. Got a couple little areas that look rough. These are low spots. That's kind of all we got. It's not real bad. They're real light. I got a low spot up here, a low spot here. Our body line is looking really nice, right into the old one. Obviously, still got to fix the doors. Now this is also important, knowing where to fill to. So obviously we have this repair. We're going to have this substrate. Now this is theory, but I have to, and you have to feather it in, right? Blend it in. So on the next coat of filler, I'm going to go from the edge all the way into this epoxy primer here. Why? Because we got little dings here. I had to tap a crown down here, and at the middle of the fender, they always crown out. So this is an area where you can kind of, I wouldn't say hide the bodywork, but if there's a little discrepancy between the back half and the front half, the middle area is where you can fade it in and hide it. Which this one was really, really bad. I'm actually surprised that after messing with it the other day for almost 2 hours, I got this fender to be right on the side profile. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see that, but this body depression here runs all the way through the door. I got it in there. It was all high before. And on the bottom, I'm going to go all the way down to the crown of this part where the molding goes. So that's on the next coat of filler. So either way, I'm plugging away. This is the critical area out of both fenders. This is the bad spot. The front area on the other fender, I'm not even worried about. I'm not hitting that yet with the sandpaper, but I'm going to just hit that with a DA and sand it down and shape it, and then finish it off with a little 80 on a block, and then I'm going to do my skim coat there. I'll show you guys what that's about. And then the bottom area, same thing. I'm just going to hit it with the DA. But the fiberglass filler on this, I actually had to block. I got my old school skate here. That's what I used. And then I went ahead and I put some 80 on my Durablock and smoothed it out with that. And as you can see, it's shaping up. Okay, I'm going to make this short because today is actually Monday. And I kind of made videos as I was working, but once I really got into the work, I get into the zone and I just don't worry about doing anything else. So at least I talked to you about some of the areas I was going to fill earlier on in this video. But I'm going to show you the finished product. So you guys remember this bad wrinkle here. Obviously, I pulled out a lot of it. And this was actually, there's a slight coat of fiberglass filler. Then our yellowish is our body filler. So we have the fiberglass filler, our main filler, and just a skim coat of the putty, which is a lighter like teal green. And the pink was for an area where I didn't do my spread just right, and it just did not come out. It started drying up on me a little bit. But you can see our side profile is good. We got that little rounded edge that's supposed to be there. Took care of this ding in the back. And then at the bottom, we already did our patchwork. I do have to clear this hole out, so I'm going to go in there, clean that out with a die grinder. So that came out really nice. Obviously, our heavy work was this fender, which came out absolutely fantastic. And I'm still going to feather fill. So feather fill is like, it's a polyester primer. It's very thick. It has a high a thick viscosity to it. And what feather fill allows you to do is it eliminates a lot of the blocking and priming that is, I wouldn't say eliminates, but it gives you a real uniform substrate. And like when you use your high build primer, the high build primer is very flexible. So the longer it sits, it'll shrink, it'll move around a lot more. The polyester primer is the same type resin material as the body filler. So it's like putting a super tight skim coat of body filler over the entire panel. It's not a fix-all. This is what I use as an in-between before regular urethane high build primer. You have to top coat it. You can put it on a bare metal. You can put it over epoxy. You're not supposed to put it over etch primer, which I have in the past with no issues, but I'm not going to condone it. So you can see our body line looks pretty straight. It's nice. We'll see what it looks like once we get epoxy primer on there. Our area actually needed more of a skim coat than I thought. And it had, not only did we have that low spot, but we had like ripples and stuff. It just wasn't looking right. And then we had a dent back here, and there's still like a weird low spot here, but I'm not going to worry about it until after feather fill because I'm taking care of all of the big, obvious bulk work, body work right now. And then in the next phase of the feather fill, if I see anything else, I can go put a little swipe of glazing putty, body putty, polyester filler, whatever you want to call it. It's the metal glaze, the thinner filler, which is like you're finishing over your main filler. So really, this is actually shaping out real good. And I think I got maybe just around 4 hours on the two fenders, obviously after doing all of the metal work. So all in all, I think I have about 8 hours into these fenders. And after the first coat of feather fill, I think they're going to be pretty much ready for high build primer, and it'll see blocking and priming at least twice, usually 2 to 3 times sessions of blocking and priming. That's what it takes me. Next is going to be the hood, which we have ripples here, and the 2 dents on the roof, and I think there's a dent in the deck lid I'm going to take care of. I'm going to take care of all the easy stuff first. I think there's a low spot in the deck lid. I don't remember where, but there is a low spot I have to skim. So either way, I'm kind of moving along. Again, this is the level of effort I'm going to have in these videos just because I really, once I get into it, and I don't want to stop. And I knocked out a bunch of work in 4 hours on Saturday. It was raining. It was actually nice and cool in here. And obviously I had the olds out, and obviously I swept and cleaned, and my carpets are going to be dusty, but I'll vacuum them later. But really, everything is looking really good on this car. I'm going to attack all of the easy stuff, and then we're going to attack the metal work, the more critical stuff last, because that's going to need some dedicated TLC, and we're going to do it one at a time. So we're going to do one door, then the next door, and then the next quarter, and the other quarter. And hopefully, in a couple of weeks, all the easy stuff is done, if not even quicker. And everything is going to get primed individually. So these fenders are going to get feather filled, the 2, and then I'll do the hood, and then I'll do the roof. You know, not everything is going to need feather fill, but some of the flatter, longer panels, I choose to use it. The roof, I'm still debating on it because the roof is actually super straight on this thing. It's got all of 2 dents. So either way, share, like, subscribe. Follow me as Copper Cutlass on Instagram. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If not, well, then go watch somebody else's page. What do you want me to say?